The courtroom was already half full when she stepped through the heavy wooden doors. She paused only long enough to straighten the folder tucked beneath her arm. Across the room, her mother noticed her first, a slow roll of the eyes, not dramatic, not loud, just practiced. The kind of expression that had followed her through childhood whenever she disappointed expectations simply by choosing a different path. Her father saw her a moment later. Instead of waving, he lowered his eyes to the floor. He always did that when avoiding conflict felt easier than choosing a side. Neither of them expected her to be there. To them, she was still the daughter who had left years ago after refusing the future they had carefully planned for her. Law school had been acceptable, public service had not. She had turned down a prestigious corporate offer to work in judicial ethics and court administration, a career her parents described as throwing away potential. Family dinners became shorter, pawn calls became rarer. Eventually, silence settled between them, not because of one terrible argument, but because neither side knew how to cross the growing distance. Now fate had brought them into the same courtroom. Her parents were witnesses in a complicated civil dispute involving a family business. She had nothing to do with the case itself, at least. That's what everyone believed. She quietly took a seat near the front. No introductions, no attempt to explain herself. The bailiff called the room to order. People stood. The judge entered. The hearing began. For nearly 20 minutes she remained unnoticed. Attorneys argued procedural questions. Doctrines changed hands. Witnesses waited nervously. She listened without expression, occasionally making a small note inside her folder. Her mother glanced toward her several times. There was irritation in every look, as if simply being present was somehow embarrassing. Then something changed. The judge reached the final page of a supplemental filing. His eyes stopped. He looked at one name, looked up, then back down again. Silence lingered longer than anyone expected. Finally, he leaned forward. Wait, his voice wasn't loud. If I'm reading this correctly, he removed his glasses. Is that really her? Every conversation in the courtroom stopped. Even the attorneys turned. The judge looked directly at the woman sitting quietly near the front. You are Miss Harper? She nodded once. Yes, Your Honor. The judge smiled with unmistakable recognition. I wasn't informed you would be attending personally. The courtroom remained perfectly still. The clerk exchanged a surprised glance with the bailiff. One of the senior attorneys suddenly straightened in his chair. Her parents looked from the judge to their daughter, completely confused. The judge continued. For those unaware, Ms. Harper serves with the state's Judicial Standards Commission and authored the advisory opinions cited throughout today's procedural dispute. A quiet ripple moved across the room. The opinion everyone had been debating for the last 20 minutes had been written by the woman her parents barely acknowledged. The judge spoke again. Since you're here, would you be willing to clarify the intent behind the administrative guidance? Your explanation would assist the court. There was nothing dramatic about the invitation, no applause, no gasps worthy of television, just the unmistakable shift that happens when authority recognizes expertise. She stood calmly, walked to the lectern, adjusted the microphone, then spent less than 5 minutes explaining the policy in plain language. No legal jargon, no attempt to impress anyone, only clarity. When she finished, the judge nodded appreciatively. Thank you, that resolves the procedural uncertainty. The attorneys agreed almost immediately. Arguments that had consumed half the morning disappeared within minutes. The hearing continued. She returned to her seat without looking toward her parents. There was no satisfaction in proving them wrong, only relief that she no longer needed to. When court adjourned, people approached her with quiet professional respect. Several attorneys thanked her. The clerk introduced herself. Even the bailiff smiled before opening the courtroom door. She gathered her papers slowly. Her parents waited near the exit. Her mother spoke first. I didn't know. It sounded less like an excuse than an admission. Her father swallowed before speaking. We kept telling people you were still trying to figure things out. She looked at him for a long moment. I was. He frowned. What do you mean? I was figuring out who I wanted to become instead of who everyone expected. No anger, no accusation, just truth. Her mother looked down. We thought you stopped aiming high. She almost smiled. I just started aiming somewhere else. No one answered. Outside, the courthouse steps were crowded with strangers beginning ordinary afternoons. The world had not changed because one family finally understood something they should have understood years earlier. Her parents stood beside her, uncertain of what came next. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no embrace that erased the distance. Some things heal slowly, some never completely do. Her father quietly said, I'm proud of you. It sounded unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. She believed he meant it. She also understood that one sentence could not rewrite years of silence. Still, it mattered, not because she had been waiting to hear it, because she realized she no longer needed to. She wished them well, walked down the courthouse steps, and disappeared into the afternoon carrying the same folder she had brought in. The difference was invisible. The weight inside it had never changed. The weight inside her finally had.